You can't in the video feel it Reggie down slightly.
No, hold on. Let me do this.
Oh, he's just so cute.
Pause Menopause, and we are episode 17, would you believe?
We are. I know we were about to say 15, and then we realised it's 17.
And then we realised it's 17. And I'm going to apologise in advance because Jill is otherwise engaged with my 2-month-old puppy.
I literally can't concentrate on anything, so I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, because right next to me is little Reggie.
Little Reggie. He actually has his own Instagram page, which has more followers than my partner.
I love David dearly, but he is a little bit cuter than your partner.
Slightly cuter, yeah, slightly cuter. They both got
Same
a little
colouring,
bit of
same sort of belly. I don't feel the same inclination to tickle David's belly as I do.
Oh my God, the last. Goodness me. Oh my
God.
God.
Look at it in the same way with, eyes full of love.
Hilarious.
It's just, he is too cute though.
You'll see. We'll do a photo, and when we put this podcast out there, there'll be a little photo of
I've never seen it.
Of Reggie on all our social media, Pause Menopause, Facebook and Instagram page. So you get to see him, and on mine, which is Charlotte Saint Jean, if you don't know me, and Jill, and she's actually got a very long Instagram name because it's Jill Grams, but it's Jill the Happy Balance Coach, which is the shortest Instagram channel ever. Isn't it, really?
When I picked that, I wasn't really, and I'm still not very up on what, the Instagram way. So
the gram.
Yeah.
Things would say the gram. I've no idea actually, but I've heard people say the gram. So episode 17. Yes. So the last one we did was on This Is Me.
Yes.
And it was all about, we were sort of promoting a little bit our retreat in the summer, but not just. But it was This Is Me. And we thought that this one, we would talk, it was your idea actually, that we would talk about how to balance your nervous system.
Yeah.
Come a bit closer. How to balance your nervous system during the menopause, because it is something that is affected greatly. Your parasympathetic nervous system, your nervous system. Do you want me to give you a little bit of a yoga take on the nervous system? So our nervous system is obviously on a fight and flight attack most of the time, but our parasympathetic nervous system is essential for maintaining a healthy immune system, a healthy digestion, a healthy sleep pattern, all the things that you actually need from your healthy balance in life comes from your nervous system, and your nervous system is affected by pretty much everything.
Yes.
All external sources and all actually internal sources. So it's everything and anything that will affect your emotional state, your hormonal state, and your physical state actually. So anything that we can do to bring things down to, so the heart will beat faster, obviously, if the nervous system is under attack, let's say.
Yes.
So the idea of meditating or yoga or spending time in nature, or we're going to talk maybe about this as well, animals, etc., is that you actually bring your heart rate back down to kind of the frequency of the earth.
Nice.
So the earth, megahertz-wise, beats at 432. There are a couple of theories about this, but the heart of the earth, so if you go into the forest and you take the earth's megahertz, right, it's 432.
Right, you're going to have to explain this. So 432, what does that mean in terms of our heartbeat? How does that relate to our heartbeat?
Our heart rate, our megahertz of the heart rate is often a lot higher.
Our heart is higher than 432.
The megahertz vibration, I'm not talking about the beats of the heart, I'm talking about the vibration of the heart. So our vibration is intense. No one from about 100, 150 years ago could stand living now because the general vibration, the general atmosphere is so intense now. And our modern music, for example, there are theories around the fact that maybe during the Second World War, and Hitler was doing this deliberately to turn people a little bit mad or to get them onto a sort of trajectory, but that's a whole other story. But most modern music, the megahertz is 555 to 5, more sometimes.
So higher than nature.
Way higher. And there is a movement to bring music, to bring various influences in, it's been there for a long time, into the mix, so that we're influenced and we're affected by a different vibration, which will help our vibration.
Before we go on to that, can you just explain, because the whole fight and flight response is a natural, healthy, useful response.
Absolutely.
But if I'm right in saying it was, as you say, it's your body's way of responding to what we perceive as potential danger, right?
Yeah. And which is also necessary in our world. So if we didn't have it, we wouldn't get up.
Our heartbeat quickens.
Yes.
We become more alert.
Yes.
So all of these things that you can completely understand, that if there was potentially a lion,
if there was a lion in front of you, what would you do? That's
exactly what you'd want to do, because it then sends signals to your brain that you've got to run.
Exactly.
But where have we gone wrong? Because everything I read says that we now, in today's society, we spend about 90% of our time in this fight.
We do.
Is that because of overstimulation?
It's overstimulation, I think. So stress is necessary, as I've just said, in certain situations, but not all the time. And stress, when there's too much of it, in fact, at any point, will create cortisol. And cortisol will block up our physical bodily functions and create inflammation and create even more blockages for the heart, so that the heart can't oxygenate properly. And we're in a much more perpetual state of fight and flight, as opposed to it being very punctual and very temporary, because the stimuli of our lives,
stressors and stimuli all the time.
Huge. You know, if you walk in a forest, you're not going to get the same stresses as if you're driving in a city or taking the metro.
Right.
Or you're at work, and not only are you working with a computer screen and often an open plan, so people all around you, you're at the same time getting pings and notifications off your own telephone.
Constantly coming at us.
Constantly coming at you. So the lion attack is not a lion life and death situation.
But our brain doesn't know any different.
That's still under attack.
Still triggers things stimulating our brain that we have to respond.
And that causes us to vibrate on a level that's, say, up here, like a head level, when actually we need to come back down to heart level, just put it on a real physical level.
And then in menopause, if I've understood correctly, the hormonal changes, and specifically the decrease in estrogen, trigger like all sorts of reactions that can play a part in the nervous system, isn't it? Like it can affect our dopamine production.
Yes.
It can our serotonin levels. It can affect all sorts of things that activate, I guess, this fight or flight thing. Is that right?
Kind of. It's more, I think, yes, partly, and I think this is just my take on it. It's because there's imbalance in the hormones, and because we're going through a phase of greater imbalance until we find our new balance, the new normal, if you like,
until things change.
And the brain is going through shifts and changes until it can regain some different cells, etc. Because of that phase, we have the natural stimuli of outside, fair enough, but we also have peaks of stress and peaks of inertia. And so it's more, for me anyway, in menopause, it's more the extreme up and downs that affect us. And it's not great either way, right? What we're looking for is a really lovely balance.
Yeah.
And
regulated.
So exactly. There have been studies done on this. So, for example, in Japan, there's a word called shinrin-yoku. and Shinrin Yoku is forest bathing.
Yeah.
And it's the ancient art of forest bathing. It's why that in all the cities there are forests and trees. It's why there's people go on retreats to the forest there, but also here now, etc. Now we're very lucky we live in the forest, basically. So we've got trees around us all the time. But there was a scientist not that long ago who did a whole study on the megahertz, on the immune system, on the heart rate, on your nervous system, all sorts of different aspects that she took into account vis-a-vis forest bathing. And the good news is you only actually need to go in once a week if you can't go in. But the whole idea is that when you walk in the forest, not only is there a natural sort of, oh gosh, yes, you don't get affected by the Wi-Fi zones, and especially if you don't take your telephone, you don't get any form of
it's a real present connection with Mother Nature.
And not only that, as you're walking on the forest earth, because the mycelium network, this ground, this earth beneath us, as you're walking on that, it actually releases a chemical into the air, which is brilliant for our system. It actually feeds our immune system and helps us fight the virus cells and they're called AK cells, which is what helps fight against cancer.
Wow.
So, and there's a chemical reaction from all of that earth. So there's
something as simple as that. No drugs, no nothing. Just a walk in the forest.
Exactly.
No distractions, no music, no phone.
Even if potentially you have the distractions, but you're walking in the forest, you've got the effect. You've got more oxygen, right? Because the trees are providing you with more oxygen. On the whole, you're going to be more relaxed because you're not like sitting in front of a computer screen as you walk through the forest, because otherwise you probably fall over, right? So you're there, but there is this beautiful chemical reaction with Mother Nature, with mycelium.
So that does explain that feeling of
yes. And hugging a tree, I know that for years, although we've been tree huggers, right? But hugging a tree actually releases, I mean, you talked about dopamine, etc. It releases your energy, your negative energy, your spiraling frantic nervous system, fight system, back into the earth, and the tree is revitalizing you in what you need. It's so it's not a woo-woo thing to do. It's actually a brilliant thing to do.
But going off on a tangent with it, hugs on any level.
Hugs on any level.
Touch.
Absolutely.
Again, it releases all these lovely brain chemicals that can go up.
That's been proven as well. So a hug in the morning. I'm not talking kisses. I'm not going to be a hug with anybody. Just a heart-to-heart of more than 30 seconds brings your megahertz heart rate down.
And these are things that have been scientifically proven.
They have been scientifically proven.
And they're, if I've understood correctly, so they're combating, they're balancing out this dysregulation that is happening as a result of stress,
to a natural state, basically. Because when we were, so again, this is yogic thinking, probably not just yogic actually, but when we all came into this universe, however you want to regard the way it all happened, there was a bang of some description. There was a chemical explosion when the sun split, and when you have that, then it became sun, moon, planets, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole boom like that. That happened. When that happened, there was a sound. There would have been a sound. We don't know what that was because we weren't there, right? In yoga, there's a symbol. It's up there on my table, actually. It's an Om symbol, which looks like a number 3 with another kind of loopy on the side and another little thing up there. It's supposed to represent the different states of awakening and of being awake. Sleep state, dream state, awake state, blah, blah, blah. And it symbolizes AUM, which is Om. Which has become very synonymous with yoga classes. That is said to be the sound
of the earth explosion.
That exactly, the universe creating, let's say. The universe creating all the little atoms, right? So you could also call those little souls as well. So when we hum, when we go or even we're recreating that
vibration,
sound, and we're reconnecting ourselves with source energy.
Because humming, that is another one that
really
is scientifically proven to relax the nervous system, isn't
Now,
it?
why do you think that is?
The vibration.
Yeah, and what does it do? This isn't a test, don't worry. You don't get like chucked out of the class and so you don't get the right answer. And I don't have all the answers.
It focuses all your attention on that.
True, it does.
Immediately bring you back into, I'm just doing it now.
There's actually a really good track by Rebecca Campbell, and all she does is hum.
I can feel it. Is it not something, this is me sort of making it up, but sort of based on things I've read, is it not replicating or something, some sort of, is it not the vibrations that we used to get like as a baby in the womb or something from the mother?
I mean, there might be some element of that, but and as I said, it's obviously also trying to connect in some way to this this like, you know, source energy, vibration and sound. But it also, on a very practical level, it vibrates the pituitary gland, which is in the center of your head.
Yes.
Okay. It also works on the thyroid gland, and these two are incredibly good for regulating our hormonal balance and our nervous system, our parasympathetic nervous system.
Right.
So by simply humming,
really,
even if you don't do an even if you don't want to do any of that kind of thing, it's a really practical way of just bringing everything back. There is actually a technique in yoga, and it's a breath called Brahmari, where you just put your tongue on your palate and you shut your mouth, and then you inhale through your nose, and as you exhale, you make the sound of a kind of bee or a wasp.
So you can feel it. You know, as we're doing this, it's making me think. I know quite a few people that when they're nervous, my dad used to do it a lot, when there was anything a bit agitated, he would hum.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And so it must just be we sort of instinctively know that that's a way of calming us. Like,
exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Think about it.
It's a really good way as well. I always think if you're in an argument or in a situation of any kind, outside of the home, in the home, before you answer, just go,
Oh no, if Paul starts doing that when I'm in the middle of a fight, that pisses me off. Do not do that.
Don't do that bit.
Especially not the condescending.
No, not in a condescending way. You'd have to
what hum is appropriate in a minute. Pick a hum tune that is
I just need a wee, and then go in and go. That's very true. There's another American woman who said just count backwards. 5, 4,
yes,
3, 2 and 1, and even that's a hum if you put tongue to your palate, because
so humming is really good. It's a really easy, effective, quick way of regulating the nervous system.
And you talked about medically proven or scientifically proven, let's say. There've been many studies on meditation as well.
Oh yeah,
loads of them. They've gone to Buddhist communities. They've got in touch with the top yogis, as it were, the meditation gurus, all the people who meditate for hours each day.
But I guess meditation or calming the breath or calming the mind, that reduces the heartbeat, doesn't it? It brings the heart rate down, which again is sort of focusing on the body, relaxing the body to get us out of the
because the body, because you're shutting down the mind. So basically the body will react emotionally and physically to what the mind is telling you to react to. So like the fight or flight thing, you see a lion in front of you, you go, oh shit, there's a lion in front of me.
So you could change your thoughts and think, oh no, actually it's a little fluffy puppy.
Yeah, you could
you could try and change your body's reaction
and just quietly walk away, which I'm not sure any of us would necessarily do in that scenario, but it is a perception thing, because your body will only react in terms of its chemical and emotional hormonal reaction to what your mind is telling it.
Yeah.
So that's why when people have post-traumatic stress disorder, for example, it's simply them reliving Because the mind only lives in the present, right? Your body and your mind only actually live in the present. They don't actually live in the past or the future, but they can bring back memories from the past, and they can worry about things
and worry about the future. Yeah,
and they can then bring it into the present, and it's actually as if they are reliving it again, the exact same experience. So you have to kind of cut the emotional ties, the electronic function almost between that memory and the trigger, the emotional trigger to that.
Yes.
So I do something called EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, which is like tapping different parts of your body as you're repeating something. And the idea is that over time and repeating it, you're cutting the electronic ties, the emotional ties to.
I thought that was bringing it out with a view to releasing it.
It's not quite that. In fact, there are different approaches. The therapeutic approach, you have to go step by step, and I don't do the therapeutic approach. I haven't got that level. But the therapeutic approach will bit by bit go towards the trauma, right? You can't do first session, bring the trauma out and just do that. It'd be an absolute nightmare. There's like, it's like releasing them into a den of lions. Then that just doesn't work. So you have to go progressively anyway. And you would go progressively anyway, but the level I'm at and the school that I've kind of gone through would basically talk to the person and work out what would be a positive statement to start tapping into the body, so that will create maybe a new neuron pathway.
I see.
And
that will eventually become your go-to as opposed to the old trauma.
It can do. So you've got lots and lots of different places to tap, but you can also just tap here on the side of your hand with your left hand on your right one, or you can just tap on the heart, which is really nice. We talked a lot about heart. So you just tap on your heart and you can just repeat something like, even though I'm scared from blah, 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 I trust my own strength. I trust what is happening. I don't know. You just create like a mantra, your own like mantra. So for
making you feel safe.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I get that.
So you could do it during like a hot flush. You could do it during, if we bring it back to the menopause, a bout of anxiety, lack of confidence.
Because everything I read about the hormonal shift that happen in the body, they can have a knock-on effect on our stress. They can increase our anxiety. They can increase depression. The brain fog. They can affect our sleep, which has a knock-on effect on our anxiety, on our depression. So it's, I guess, hence the reason I thought this was a good one to speak about this, like in relation to menopause, because it's obviously this nervous system dysregulation. I guess we can have it anyway, aren't we? But it's heightened in the menopause.
I think it is, and I think it is because also you lose a little bit of clarity, and that again has been proven. Brain. So you lose parts of your brain during the menopause. There's sort of like lights that switch off, literally, in the brain, that then recreate, but in different areas, and actually areas that are responsible for our creativity and things like that. But that doesn't happen straight away, right? So the brain fog idea is actually a medical condition almost, because you are losing some of the neural pathways
in your brain.
Absolutely.
You're losing things.
You're completely normal to feel.
Yes. That's what message we're trying to get across here is
it's normal.
These things are normal, but there's lots and lots and lots of stuff we can do to help.
Well, the other thing that I think we talked about, and we've got a little puppy right next to us, but animals are amazing. So this is interesting because you talked about the nervous system side of things, and I was going to bring in animals anyway. And I watched, bizarrely on my feed, or not anyway, but Kevin Bacon came up, who does all the, as an actor, American actor, does all the...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is it O2? I don't know what the... No, it's not O2, is it?
Yeah, there's that thing with 7 degrees of connection to Kevin Bacon.
I don't know, actually. Is that...
the one that went on Footloose?
Yes.
Yes. Apparently, this is going totally off track. Every single one of us, there's 7 degrees of separation to Kevin Bacon.
Oh, wow.
So you can take it back, and apparently,
Oh, so we're all related to him.
Apparently.
Well, he was on today... Interesting fact. He was on I don't know if it was today, but it came up on my feed today, and he was actually grooming a horse. I don't know if it's his horse, I presume it might be, or at least a horse he rides anyway. But he actually was saying about the nervous system and about calming the nervous system by connecting with an animal. And he said it could be any animal, but tuning in, and a horse is quite good for that because they're usually pretty, they're the presence, they're large, right? There's 500 kilos of warm animal in front of you. And they will tell you immediately if they like what they're doing or not. So there's a connection with them straight away.
And I guess Julie, you have to probably kind of, not necessarily force for you, but for some of us, because they're so big, it's,
and
you know, my
well.
initial reaction is to be a little bit nervy, but
sure,
I would make an effort to be calm.
You'd need to
get myself.
You'd need to, because otherwise the horse will run rings round, basically.
Yeah.
Because they'll test you, you know, just like a dog will test you, you know, if they don't know you, they'll test you. But just simply grooming a horse.
The acts of grooming.
Just like literally, and just trying to tune your breath almost into the horse's breath. And when the horse then goes, you know that you're on a good one. You know that they're calm.
You know, like I'm sitting here, you can't see, but stroking Reggie's warm little tummy. And I can feel
and he's loving it.
Breath.
He's loving it.
And I can feel the heat and just that little life. And this is making me calm. You can see why they say that for the elderly, for people in hospital, there's like dog therapy, isn't it? Just
for sure.
Stroking.
You know, in France, there's even a horse that goes into hospitals now. He's really well known, and the owner of the horse, so it's like, you know, horse therapy for very sick patients. And the owner's desperately trying to find a new one that is as intuitive as this horse, because the horse is getting old. He's like really seriously old. He's like, I think in his 30s. And horses live a long time, but 30s are, you know, a long time for a horse. So
I guess an underlying theme that's coming out here is connection, whether it be connection to, well, it's all nature,
very
isn't it?
professional.
Animals.
She's brought it back to a word.
Animals, Mother Nature, each other. You know, whether we're talking
human connection, nature connection. Absolutely,
it's all of that belonging, that connection that seems to calm us.
Yeah, and I was listening to a podcast the other day, not about that necessarily, but saying that we have lost a lot of our communities and our connections.
For sure we have. I mean, look at the way we live.
So what was interesting is they've done some studies on social media and how it apparently that the one level of understanding is that it has stopped us from being empathetic and connected. But another school of thought is that it's actually increased our level of empathy and connection, but only to our specific community. And so it's actually creating divide as opposed to unity. Do you see what I mean? So the algorithms will work in that favor. And so you start to feel like if you're part of a gang, even if it's just virtual,
it works.
You're part of a community, but then it becomes a them and us. As opposed to a community connection that is more global and empathetic to the global and seeing the other person as another human. And the thing with animals is they get it.
That's global.
They get it.
Simple
they have no prejudice. They, you know, a horse will always forgive. Will never forget something, but will always forgive and will always be in the present. Always. So sometimes when you see a horse yawn, it was interesting the other day, I came back from the teacher training course and I took my horse up to the paddock. And I'd been with lots of people and their energy all day. And it wasn't late and blah, blah, blah. We're in the paddock in the afternoon and my horse kept yawning. And I said, he's getting rid of the energy from the other people that I'm carrying with me. It was really interesting.
I yawn when I'm nervous.
Do you? Now you see, that's another way of getting rid of the nervous energy.
I've noticed that.
There's a lady as well who massages in Australia in her horse field. So she puts the massage table in with the horses and the horses come up as she's massaging and they'll put their head on the person or they'll come really close and again they quite often yawn the energy, the bad energy out. It's absolutely
sounds lovely. So
bringing it back to some form
wrap it
of
up.
conclusion. You wanted to mention your book.
Oh, I did want to mention, this is a good book.
So on the
Heal
video,
Your Nervous
YouTube,
System.
the video goes onto YouTube, by the way, on Menopause Menopause channel. Although I might put it on mine as well.
This is a really lovely, simple book.
I'll have to read it, won't I? It's called Heal Your Nervous System, the 5-stage plan to reverse nervous system dysregulation by Dr. Linnea Fasala.
And it speaks all about nervous system dysregulation, the whys, what causes it, and different
and how to bring it back.
Approaches, yes.
Yeah, okay.
How to bring it back.
What is her main suggestion for that?
Oh, there's all different. There's different prongs
Right.
to it. She speaks about different portals, but it's all stuff that we do. It's either coming through the body, so through exercise, a bit like what you've just spoken about, breath work, humming.
Breath work, we've
like
not
that.
talked about a lot, but breath work.
There's also approaching it through the mind. So again, what we've spoken about, trying to some of those perhaps traumatic or triggering past events that are still tripping us up in the present and making us anxious when our reality is that we don't really need to be. But because we're relating to the past, we're making reference to the past.
Exactly.
They cause anxiety when our actual present doesn't need to cause us anxiety. So a lot of it's about that, all sorts of things, but it's filled with it's a very systematic approach, which I like, and it's filled with practical exercises. Try this, small steps. So if this kind of stuff is new to anybody, we've got a lot here already, incorporate a lot of this into our lives, but for people that don't, this is a real lovely step-by-step guide to practical things you can do to regulate.
I think that's what people need as well, and it's a selection of practical, because you can't always do, you don't always want to, but you can't always do everything, and sometimes one thing will speak to you more than another.
And like you said, it's not about trying to eliminate this our nervous system going into the fight or flight mode, which is obviously a very healthy thing, but it's training us in the ability to bring it back down
again,
and that's again
and find the harmony, I think,
so as we're not existing constantly in this. Reggie seems to have mastered the act of doing that, because 1 minute he's running around like a loony, and then now he's just chilling out, cuddling.
So he's actually called, I'm just going to put this out, he's actually called Arctic Warmer is his official name. If ever we showed him, that would be what he would be called. Arctic Warmer, but we called him Reggie after Reggie Cray, because I think he needed a bit of a gangster name, even though he's a tiny pint-sized little dog. But
he is the sweetest little thing I've ever seen.
He's going to be the Instagram hero, I think. I think we're going to have to get him one of those little, cameras that go in front. So as he's walking, just see it from the front thing.
He's beautiful. We'll put a picture.
Nice as seen by him. We'll do it towards him and then away from him, so that's on his level. What does he say? A bit like Georgie's level, actually. Your dog.
They'll be friends. So, ladies, we're going to leave it with you. What are you going to just start? What are you going to
do? What are you going to do to rebalance your nerve? Which speaks to you more? The idea being that you are bringing things down to that 432 megahertz. I remember just lastly when I placed in my house in Provence, there's a big piano, an old piano that was in the house when I bought it. And I eventually got around to tuning it after about 5 years of living in the house. I found a piano tuner, which is no mean feat nowadays, but I found a piano tuner. And I'm big on music that influences things on a 432 level. So a few of my instruments, so I have a shamanic flute and a harp, they're on the 432 level. So as she's starting to tune it, she said, I'm not going to be able to bring it back up onto the 440, the 442 even level. I just won't be able to, because the strings will snap. And so what I'm thinking of doing is bringing it onto 432. I went, yes, please.
That's what we want.
That's what we want. We want the piano tuned on that, please. And then she went, because it's the heartbeat. And I finished her sentence of the earth. and she went,
Oh,
"Exactly."
how lovely. So on that note, ladies, 432, heartbeat, oh, not heartbeat, vibration.
Vibration.
Frequency.
The
Back
heart,
down to
the frequency of the earth.
frequency of the,
Yeah.
we like that.
See you soon.